I fired them both on a Monday morning, not because I found out they were sleeping together. I already knew that. I fired them because they walked into my office together and asked me to be mature about it. That was the moment I understood exactly what kind of people I had built my life around, and exactly what I needed to do next. Let me tell you how we got here, because this story doesn't start with betrayal, it starts with trust, and the way I handed it to two people who were already planning how to use it against me. My name is Ryan. I'm 34 years old. 3 years ago, I started a small digital marketing agency out of my apartment. Just me, a laptop, and about 11 clients who took a chance on someone they barely knew. Within 18 months, I had grown it to a real office. 8 employees. Enough revenue to actually pay myself a salary I wasn't embarrassed by. And the two people I trusted most in that entire operation were Jordan, my best friend since college, and Mia, my girlfriend of 2 years. Jordan ran our client accounts. Mia managed operations. Between the two of them, they knew everything about my business, every client, every contract, every number. I thought having the two people I loved most working beside me every day was a blessing. I was wrong. It was a liability. I just didn't know it yet. I want to tell you exactly what kind of friendship Jordan and I had, because I need you to understand what I actually lost here, and it wasn't just a business partner. Jordan and I met freshman year of college. He was the first person I called when I got my first client. When my father died, 3 years ago, Jordan flew across the country on 12 hours' notice just to sit beside me at the hospital. He was my best man at my brother's wedding. He knew my passwords, my fears, my worst decisions, and my biggest dreams. When I started the business and asked him to come on board, I didn't run it past lawyers or draw up a formal agreement. I shook his hand, because that's what you do with someone you've trusted for 12 years. Mia came into my life about a year into the business. She was sharp, organized, and the kind of person who could walk into a chaos and turn it into a system by end of day. I fell for her fast, maybe too fast. She moved into my apartment 7 months in. I introduced her to my mother. I started quietly looking at rings. I'm telling you this so you understand, these weren't coworkers I was vaguely fond of. These were the two people I had built my entire world around. The first sign came on a Tuesday, and I want to be honest, I didn't recognize it as a sign at the time. I recognized it as a small, strange thing that I filed away and mostly forgot about. I came back early from a client lunch. Jordan's office door was half closed. Mia was inside. They were laughing, the kind of low, quiet laugh that stops the moment someone walks in. It stopped the moment I walked in. Jordan said something about a campaign they were working on. Mia smiled at me normally, came over, kissed my cheek, and went back to her desk. I told myself, they work together, of course they talk, of course they laugh. I went back to my office, but I remembered it. The second sign came 3 weeks later. Mia's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't trying to snoop. I wasn't looking for anything. I just happened to glance over. The notification preview said, "Jordan, don't overthink it. What we have is..." It cut off there. I stood in the kitchen for a long time. Then I put the phone face down and walked to the window. When she came out, I didn't say anything, because I didn't know what I had seen yet. And I've learned over the years that the worst thing you can do when you suspect something is confront it before you actually know what you're confronting. So I waited. The third sign was the one that ended all doubt. I was working late one Friday night. Everyone had left, or I thought everyone had left. I went to the kitchen to grab water and noticed the light on in the conference room at the end of the hall. I didn't knock. I just opened the door. I don't need to describe what I saw in detail. You already understand. What I will describe is this: the 3 seconds before they saw me. 3 seconds where I was standing in the doorway of my own conference room, in my own company, watching the two people I trusted most in the world, together, in a way that made everything I had believed for the past 2 years completely impossible. 3 seconds, then Jordan saw me, and Mia saw me, and nobody said anything for what felt like a very long time. Here's what I did not do. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not throw anyone out of the office. I said very quietly, "Lock up when you leave." And I walked out, drove home, sat in my car in the parking garage for 40 minutes, didn't go upstairs. I've thought a lot about those 40 minutes. What I was doing was not falling apart. What I was doing was thinking, because here was my situation. My girlfriend and my best friend were sleeping together. They both worked for me. They both knew everything about my business. And whatever I did next, however I reacted, was going to determine whether I lost just a relationship and a friendship, or whether I also lost the company I had spent 3 years building from nothing. Emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford yet. I spent that weekend doing something nobody who's been betrayed ever thinks to do. I talked to a lawyer, not a therapist, not a friend, a lawyer. Because in the fog of what I was feeling, I had the clarity to understand one thing. Jordan and Mia had access to every client contract, every financial record, and every operational system in my company. If they decided to leave, or worse, if they decided to use what they knew, I needed to know exactly what I was protected against and what I wasn't. The lawyer's answer was not comforting. Without proper non-disclosure agreements, which I had never made them sign because you don't make your best friend and your girlfriend sign NDAs, I was significantly exposed. So I spent that weekend quietly, carefully documenting everything. Every file, every access log, every client contract, building the record I should have built long before any of this happened. On Monday morning, I came into the office early. Before anyone arrived, I changed the passwords on every system they had access to. I set up read-only access on the financial records. I documented their job roles formally in writing for the first time. By the time the office filled up at 9, everything was locked. They didn't know it yet. At 9:47 a.m., Jordan knocked on my office door. Mia was with him. They came in together, sat down across from me. Together. And Jordan, my best friend of 12 years, the person who flew across the country when my father was dying, looked me in the eye and said, "We wanted to talk to you about this like adults. We think you should be mature about it. These things happen. We care about you, but we also care about each other. We're hoping we can all keep things professional here." I want you to really hear what he just said. He was asking me in my own office, at my own company, to be mature about the fact that my best friend and my girlfriend had been sleeping together behind my back. He used the word professional, about my personal life. In a building I pay rent on, I looked at him, I looked at her, and I felt something settle in my chest like a stone dropping into still water, complete, utter clarity. I said two things, first to Mia. "Your personal belongings need to be out of my apartment by Wednesday. I'll be staying elsewhere until then. The key goes in the mailbox." Then, to both of them, "Your positions here are terminated, effective immediately. HR will send termination details by end of day. Please don't access any company systems on your way out." Jordan started to speak. I stood up. I said, "I'd like you both to leave now." They left. I sat back down at my desk, and for the first time since that Friday night in the conference room, I let myself feel it. Not the anger, the grief. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about being betrayed by the people closest to you. The anger is easy. The anger gives you something to do. It's the grief that breaks you open. Grief for 12 years of friendship that turned out to be worth less than a secret they couldn't even keep for a year. Grief for a relationship I had been quietly planning a future inside of. Grief for the version of my own life I thought I was living with people I thought I knew. I sat at my desk for 20 minutes. Then I called my next client meeting, because the company still needed to run, and I was still the only person responsible for running it. Here's what happened in the months after. Jordan tried to reach out 3 times. The first time, it was to explain. The second time, it was to apologize. The third time, and this is the part that tells you everything you need to know about who he actually is, it was to ask if I'd be willing to give him a professional reference. I didn't respond to any of them. Mia moved out by Wednesday, as I asked. She sent one text the following week that said, "I hope you know this wasn't about you." I read it once, then deleted it. Because there is genuinely nothing in the world less useful than being told by someone who betrayed you that it wasn't about you. The business survived. Better than survived, honestly. Without 2 people who were clearly more focused on each other than on their work, a strange thing happened. The remaining team stepped up. I hired 2 new people, with proper contracts this time, NDAs included. 6 months later, we landed our biggest client to date. I'm not telling you this to make it sound like betrayal has a silver lining. It doesn't, not exactly. I'm telling you this because sometimes the people you think are load-bearing walls in your life are actually just furniture. And when they leave, you realize the structure was yours all along. People ask me what I'd tell someone in my position. Someone who has just seen something they can't unsee, in a doorway they can't step back out of. I'd tell them this. Feel the grief, don't skip it. Don't drink past it. Don't bury yourself in work so deeply that it never gets to surface. Feel it properly because it's real and it deserves to be real. But while you're feeling it, protect yourself. Think clearly about what you need to do next. Not what feels good. Not what makes the other person feel the weight of what they did. What actually protects you and your future. Because betrayal at its core is not just an emotional event. It's an information event. It tells you exactly who someone is. And once you have that information, accurate, undeniable, witnessed with your own eyes, the only question left is, what are you going to do with it? I made my decision in 40 minutes sitting in a parking garage alone. I built my company from scratch once. I could rebuild the rest from scratch too, and I have. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever trusted someone completely, only to find out they were building something behind your back, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because you don't have to be loud to be strong. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I'd like you both to leave now. Take care of yourselves, and choose carefully who you build your world around. There's one more thing I want to say before I close this, because I've thought about it a lot in the year since everything happened, and it's the part that took me the longest to understand. I used to think the worst part of what Jordan and Mia did was the betrayal itself. The lying, the hiding, the conference room on a Friday night. But that's not actually the worst part. The worst part is what it does to your ability to trust the next person, and the person after that. When someone you have loved and trusted completely turns out to be someone entirely different from who you believed them to be. A part of your brain starts running that same calculation on everyone else around you. Your new hire who seems a little too eager. Your next girlfriend who laughs a little too long at someone else's joke. Every small thing becomes a potential data point in a pattern you're terrified to miss again. That's what betrayal really steals from you. Not just the relationship, not just the friendship, the ease of trust itself. And rebuilding that, learning to extend trust again without the constant background noise of waiting to be proven wrong, that's the actual work. The work nobody sees. The work that happens quietly over months in the ordinary moments of letting someone new in. I'm still doing that work. I won't pretend I'm finished. But I can tell you I'm further along than I was sitting in that parking garage on a Friday night. And that's enough. For now, that's enough. I replaced Jordan with someone who treats client relationships like they matter. I replaced Mia with an operations manager who actually wants to be there. I replaced the version of myself who shook hands instead of signing contracts. And the conference room where I found them, I had it repainted. New table. New chairs. We closed our biggest deal in that room 6 months ago. Some spaces you burn down, some you rebuild. I chose to rebuild. And every day I walk into that office past that room, I think, they didn't take this from me. They tried, but this was always mine.